Okay, so we're continuing on from the first video where, if you remember, just as a quick recap, we looked at the similar ideas in these extracts. Now, this question sort of continues, only this time they need you to identify ideas that are different in the documents. Now, you notice it doesn't say extracts, so we're going to have to read both the documents here and find an idea which is different. So find a contrast. You'll remember this from the compare and contrast section on the Moodle. So, I'd like you to pause the video and open up the document, and we'll go. Okay, so you should have a fairly good idea of what ideas are being gotten across in these two documents here. So we know from the first part of the question that there are certain shared ideas. The idea that something needs to be done about this, that plastic waste is toxic and dangerous, and that it's a growing concern. However, there are some differences. So if we look here at the first document, this paragraph here, well, that's the same as the second document, really, isn't it? You know, more and more evidence that plastic is having a serious effect on sea animals. So we're talking about the sea animals here. And again, this is going into more detail about it. It's very distressing to witness this, and I feel that we all have a responsibility to cut down the amount of plastic we use. Less something is done. So again, that's very much talking about what's going to happen in the future, which again is in document 2. Now, the last paragraph here is quite interesting. You hopefully picked this out. Clearly something has to be done at a national and international level. Governments need to take responsibility to make this happen. Well, that is also repeated in document 2. However, this idea isn't. This problem is so big that individuals can do little to help solve it, and it's the governments that need to work together to bring about change. Now, that's an idea that we haven't seen in the second document. So let's have a look and see what the second document says about individuals versus government. So, here it says, there are 5 incredibly easy ways you can start to reduce your plastic waste in your everyday life. Now that's quite interesting because in the first document, if you remember, it's talking about individuals not being able to do much on their own and it being governments that need to act and need to do something about this. And again, it's saying here, we're all responsible for looking after our planet. And whereas the first document does say that, it also very much puts the burden of actually sorting this out on governments. However, this part of document 2 seems to contrast with document 1, because whereas document 1 is saying that it's governments that need to tackle this and it's too big a problem for individuals to do, document 2 is focusing on what individuals can do, and it suggests that individuals can actually make a difference and can change things. So that would be your main point of contrast here. That's what you're going to be talking about, and hopefully that's what you picked up on. Okay, question 6. Look at the sentence below. Let's achieve our goal and use less plastic. Explain how punctuation is used in this sentence. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to jot down punctuation that you can see in the sentence. Pause the video and jot down punctuation that you can see in this sentence. Okay, so in this sentence, there are 3 different types of punctuation. Firstly, you've got an exclamation point at the end of the sentence. Secondly, we've got an apostrophe between let and s. And thirdly, it's written in capital letters. Now, you only have to give one example, but let's have a think about what all 3 of those can add. So, think about why the apostrophe has been used there and what effect it has. Think about why capital letters have been used here and what effect it has, and think about why an exclamation mark has been used here and what effect it has. Jot those down, pause the video, jot those down, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so the apostrophe in let's. Now, you'll remember from the punctuation section of the Moodle that apostrophes are used for 2 different things. They're used for possession and also for missing letters. So, if we expand that out, it would be let us achieve our goal and use less plastic. Now, if you remember from the thing we looked at in terms of formal and informal language, in a formal letter, we don't use apostrophes of possession, do we? We use the words as they originally supposed to be. So if this is a formal letter, it would be let us. So the apostrophe here, the effect the apostrophe has, the explanation is the apostrophe makes the text less formal. So moving on to the next one. Why have only capital letters been used here? Well, capital letters, if we use something all in capital letters, it's almost like it's shouting, isn't it? So the reason why they've only used capital letters here is to emphasize the importance of this sentence, almost like they're shouting it out. And finally, the explanation for the exclamation mark at the end, which is this thing here at the end. Again, that adds emphasis. It makes it seem more important. It adds a real emotive impact to that sentence. So if you had anything like those three, you were right. Well done. So, moving on now to question 7. Now, question 7 deals with organisational features. And organisational features, layout features, structural features, they're all synonyms. They all mean the same thing. So what we're looking for here is structural features or layout features or organisational features. We're not just identifying them, because that'll only get you 1 mark. We're identifying them and we're explaining the effect they have. So, document 1. Let's have a quick look at document 1. What I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to pause and I'd like you to find 2 or 3 structural, organisational, layout, whatever you want to call them, features, and jot them down and explain why they've been used. Right, so you should have remembered from your activities on layout features, otherwise known as organisational features or structural features, that, for instance, the headline here, Plastic in Our Seas, a Huge Crisis, is an organisational or structural feature. So that would be one to pick. Now, what's the effect of this headline? Well, it tells us what the article's about. We've also got pictures here. Now, what do the pictures do? Well, they're layout or organisational features that show us, they give us a visual idea of what the article is about. So they illustrate the article. You've also got paragraphs that have been used here, and paragraphs break up a text so it's easier to read. Those are just 3. There are more in these. Okay, so for instance, you could talk about the captions underneath the picture as well, which tell us what the picture represents. Now, rather importantly here, you can own, for this question, for question number, where are we? Right, for question number 7, you only get 4 marks if you've identified an organisational feature and explained the effect it has twice. Okay? If you've only identified organisational features, even if you've identified an organisational feature in document 1 and document 2, you will still only get 1 mark. To get more than 1 mark, you need to explain why these features have been used. So let's have a look at document 2 and do the same. See if we can find an organisational feature and explain why it's been used. So yeah, pause the video now and see what you can come up with. Okay, so again, we've got the logo at the top of the page here, Redbury Council with the 3 stars, and that tells you, well, the reason why that's been used is because it tells you who sent out this document. We've also got subheadings here. So what is changing is a subheading, and a subheading tells us what the next bit of text is going to be about. And we've also got things here like bullet points. And bullet points allow us to present lists easily. And again, we've got numbered lists, which does something very similar. And don't forget, for this question, you also need to be thinking about why they've been used. It's not enough just to identify these layout or organisational features. You need to explain why they've been used. So, moving on to the last and arguably most difficult question. Now, you should remember from the section on language features that there are many, many, many different language features with many, many, many different labels. You will be able to find many different language features here. What I really suggest you do is really focus on revising what those language features are and what they do, because that's what's going to get you marks in this exam. So let's have a look here. Identify one language feature used in document 1 and explain the effect this feature has on the reader. So again, it's not enough just to identify the language feature. It was before they revamped the functional skills qualification, but now the functional skills qualification has changed. You also need to explain the effect it has. So you need to explain what effect it has. You need to explain why it's been used. So let's have a quick look at document 1. Pause the video, have a quick look at document 1, see if you can identify a couple of language features and think about why. Okay, so first off in this section here we can see quite a lot of adjectives, can't we? Beautiful. Sense of wonder, isn't strictly an adjective. Where are we? Yeah. This feeling. So it's talking about people's feelings. It's also using plenty of adjectives here. You know, things like beautiful, bright colours, pattern shells. So we could go with adjectives here: beautiful, patterned, bright. Now, what does that do? Well, it accentuates the beauty of these sea creatures, doesn't it? So it makes the sea creatures seem really beautiful and attractive, which in turn makes us concerned about the damage that plastic is doing. Okay, so that's one potential answer. There's also use of emotive language here, things like shock, horror, which again highlights the damage that's being done to the ecosystem. It highlights the damage that's been done to the environment by this plastic. Okay. We have also got expert opinion. So Green Forever, an environmental campaign group, claims that plastic pollution is the biggest threat facing the world's seas. So expert opinion is often used because it adds weight to your argument. It makes your argument seem more legitimate. If you just ask the nobody on the street, you know, someone you bumped into whether plastic's a problem, yeah, you might take them seriously, but also you might not. However, if you're talking to a group which, you know, investigates, researches plastic in the seas, you're more likely to believe what they say. And again, Sarah Khan, a sea life expert from Sweden. And again, she's an expert in her field. So we're more likely to take what she says seriously. And again, you've got opinion here as well. So you've got things like the video makes the viewer feel a sense of wonder at the amazing array of life in the oceans. Opinion is, especially used in this case, a language feature. So there we go. That's the first part of the question done. What we then need to do is have a look at document 2, and identify a language feature from that and explain why it's been used. So, firstly, well, tell you what, pause the video, have a look through document 2 and see what you can find. Okay, so firstly here, you've got a direct address, so a personal address. You use the word you there, and there are personal addresses throughout this. 5 incredibly easy ways you can start to reduce plastic waste. Use of the word you here, use of the word we. Those are what's known as personal pronouns or direct address. And it works because it makes it seem like the document's talking to you personally. It makes it feel like this entire thing is addressed to you personally, and it puts the weight of everything on you. You've also got alliteration here, problem of plastic pollution. So you've got 3 words here which start with the same sound, and that sounds quite pleasing when you read it. It sort of sticks in your head a little bit there. And there are several more language features within this document itself. So there you go. That's how you answer the questions on this paper. It's not, once you know what the questions are looking for, it's reasonably straightforward, but do make sure you do your revision before you do the exam, and do make sure as well that you pay attention to what the exam says. That first 10 minutes when you're reading through the source documents is very important. It gives you a real idea of what you're being asked to do. It gives you a real idea of the documents. Anyway, that's about all the time we've got for. So what I'll do now is I'll move on to a practice paper and have a go at that.